Under Kamala and her economy, millions of Americans, she has no idea about an economy. She's not a smart person. She's a low IQ individual. She is. She's a low IQ person.
That was an angry and clearly very AG grieve Donald Trump speaking at the Turning Point USA conference in Atlanta. And of course, we expect Donald Trump to project as much as possible in his speeches as he becomes more insecure about his own cognitive decline, his own low IQ, as he would like to phrase it. But these personal attacks on Vice President Harris are just so sad from Trump, not only because they make him look ridiculous. Actually, I love that they make him look ridiculous, but they are also off-putting to voters. So as we always expect, when Donald Trump is doing something and that thing is speaking, it is bound to backfire. And that is exactly what happened in tonight's disaster of a speech. But not only were the things that Donald Trump saying, the things he was saying backfired, the things that he was unable to say also backfired, because Donald Trump lost his ability to speak shock this crowd really in doing so, and we are going to get into all of that. But before I have request you that, if want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have a couple of clips to look at in this video. Now let's get into this. The rest of this crazy speech from Trump.
But the best is 60 Minutes. They changed her answer. Should I sue them? Should I sue? Should we sue 60 Minutes and CBS? No, think of it. They asked her a question on 60 Minutes, which is news. You know, these companies have to get licensed, and in the licensing it says they have to be honest. They gave her a question. She gave an answer that was from a loony bin. They said, we can't have that. They took the answer out in its entirety, threw it away, and they put another answer in. And I think it's the biggest scandal in broadcasting history. That's what I think. It's election interference fraud.
The party of free speech continues to focus on wanting to strip CBS and apparently several other media outlets of their licenses. Is this really? So this is what free speech is all about, CU. It doesn't seem like it. But again, when we return to Donald Trump's anger with 60 Minutes, it's really funny that his complaint is that they had to cut VP Harris' interview down. Because of course she sat for an interview longer than an hour. That's why they had to edit it down, something Donald Trump is not able to do. And we know that because he wouldn't even show up, because he is terrified of actual questions. He is terrified of having to speak because, like I said, and I always do, when he speaks, it backfires. And that is why he is so angry and lashing out, like we see in this clip right here.
Well, she did one thing that's very smart in the world of politics. She got herself the worst person possible to be vice president. You understand that? Worst. So bad that they'd probably leave her. I don't know. And by the way, how good is J.D. Vance? How good is she? Right?
Funny for Donald Trump. Again, how much projection can this guy possibly do? But funny of him to say that VP Harris has the worst running mate ever when he has J.D. Vance, and it kind of almost like set off a light bulb in his head. He's like worst running mate ever. That reminds me of J.D. Vance. I know that's not actually what he was saying, but you can kind of see the dots being connected there. And if that's actually what he was thinking, then kind of an astute observation by Trump. And we rarely see those. It's mostly just mixed ramblings and word salads, like we can see right here.
Stand up here. Nobody writes about this stuff. And I wish I put it on tape, but every time I say, oh, I'd love these conversations. I could tell you with Italy what I did. I could tell you. Here's the problem. Every time I think about I want to tape every conversation. The problem is then I start thinking about Richard Nixon did that, and I say, you know, let's do without the tape. We'll do without the tape. No, every time I said, did we record that? No, sir, we did not.
What is he even talking about at this point? And he's been doing this bit lately about the phone calls he wish he could have recorded. And all the things no one knows about one of those was apparently stopping a war, which we're going to get into in the next clip. But such a weird comparison for Trump to make him and Nixon, I guess, two criminals. So that stays on Trump's brain. But like I said, he wants to talk about wars that he didn't stop, that didn't happen. And we can see that in this clip right here.
As many as you have no idea what I did in the White House. I stopped wars with France. France, you know the France story? They were going to charge us, think of this, 25% to all America. I have to protect American companies, whether we like them or not. Some of them I didn't even like. You know, Google is treating us much better. Do you notice that? What happened to Google? They're treating us much better. Very nice. I appreciate that very much. They say McDonald's was one of the most viewed things that they've ever had. Could you believe McDonald's?
Please let me know in the comments if you have any idea what he is trying to talk about. I don't think he knows what he's talking about. He clearly never does. And it's the reason why he can barely speak. Like I said at this point, and we saw two examples of that. The first really just making the crowd go silent. They wanted to clap, but they just couldn't because it was a mess. Yeah, how about we just check it out?
Terminated so fast. Alaska. But we will quickly become energy dependent again. We weren't energy.
So Donald Trump, who recently forgot the words liquid gold when describing his energy policy that he doesn't understand clearly, continues to forget his energy policy and his plans because he says that we're going to be energy dependent again, and you can hear the crowd wanting to clap. The gosh, is he really doing this? And they just kind of fall silent for what should be an applause line, but Trump cannot deliver it. But yeah, Donald, you were energy dependent during your administration. Biden-Harris energy independent. But like I said, not the only example of Donald Trump failing to speak. We can see more right here.
So I take the phone and put it down. The sad part is I never picked it up. I forgot. They'll say, he's cognitively imbalanced. He didn't pick up. These people, are they the worst?
Just because you make fun of your cognitive decline doesn't make it any less true. Just so. You know, we are still observing the very clear ways in which you are breaking down and diminishing every single day. And it's not funny. It's scary because your unfitness is ever more apparent considering there would also be no checks on you and you would empower your stows to attack our government at will. And speaking of attacks, Donald Trump always doing that, but doing so in a really stupid, if we can put it frankly, way in this clip. Right here.
I have a lot of companies moving. You watch Detroit. You know, for 40 years ago, I've been hearing about Detroit's coming back. Never came back.
Donald Trump's attacks on the city of Detroit have been so disastrous for his campaign that he is doubling down just the other day. We saw VP Harris with a Detroit versus everybody shirt really just embracing Donald Trump's attacks on the city in a state that he would want. Don't want to win in this election, but he cannot control himself. It's why we always say every time he speaks, it's bound to backfire. It's why his handlers do not want him doing more speaking events. They do not want him doing interviews. They don't want him in any setting in which people can hear him. And I agree with that. I don't want to hear him anymore either. Let's just do one of those and throw away that key because every time he speaks, it's ridiculous. Just listen to this fake story right here.
Last week, I spoke in front of the Economic Club of Detroit, and I spoke about cars, and I talked about this plant. And in the audience, just like right where you're sitting, sir, good-looking guy, stand up, please. Right you, that's right. Yeah, stand up. Right in your seat. That's where he sat, right there. I looked in the audience, and who do I see? I see John. And I said, I passed a message to him while I'm speaking, because this was more interesting to me than anything I was doing up there. And I said, I want to see you after, so I see him afterwards. I said, John, tell me something. How is that monster plant, and it's actually more than one, but this one monster, how's it doing? Sir, they've abandoned that plant. What? That's great news, you know, because it's going to kill us. What do you mean they've abandoned? They think you're going to be elected president. You're going to put tariffs on their cars, and they won't be able to make any money. They're going to lose their shirt. They've abandoned the plant. I said, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard.
So Trump's closing message in this campaign is to attack the city of Detroit, failed to speak and make up stories about notes that he wrote in the 2080s, middle of highly televised interviews. He just making stuff up at this point. He does not know how to close this race. He's flailing. He's out of control. He's incapable of speaking. He couldn't be more clear. And if we want a little bit of contrast to that, let's hear some of VP Harris's closing message today.
And that we are going to, as we all say, turn the page on an era that was about trying to have people point fingers at each other, trying to suggest that there are these issues that divide us when the most fundamental important issues we care about unify us. And so you all are putting that into action every moment of each day. You've been doing this work. We have 13 days to go. And I am so deeply thankful to you. You are having an impact on, for the most part, people that you may never end up meeting, because your work here will impact people around the country. Understand that.
Vice President Harris is bringing positivity to the campaign trail VP. Harris is talking about the way that government can positively affect people's lives, doing the difficult but important work of governing out on the campaign trail, inspiring and bringing us together under a big tent. And Donald Trump is, I don't know, making stuff up, attacking immigrants, pushing conspiracies, going crazy. Can the contrast be clear? No, it can't. So let's continue to talk about it. Let's continue to work, and we're going to be doing so every single day on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you're stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.